There's one Detroit Lion that has complete confidence in the coaching staff, and he's not the only one, but it is awesome when you hear players talk about how confident they are in the moves that Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes and everybody else is making. So we're going to talk about that in this video. We are also going to talk about a potential trade that the Lions are rumored in because it's trade rumor season. What else are we going to talk about? Okay, there is a lot of different things to talk about. But if you're new to this channel, my name's Craig. My buddy Chris, and I started this channel, I don't know, like 4 years ago, something like that. We love the Lions. We love talking Lions sports. And before we get rolling this, I got a question for you. I see this jersey back here, this Hutch jersey. And it's the iteration before the current jerseys. And I have a question for you. What is your favorite Detroit Lions uniform of all time? Me personally, 90s, and they're coming back to it, but I love the silver pants with the Honolulu blue jersey and the helmet with the blue face mask. I love it with the lion that is the old Lion logo. Just, from the 90s, the Barry Sanders era, just beautiful. And I'm so happy they went back to it, but now I wish they only go blue on blue or white on white or black on black. But maybe you're someone who liked when they integrated some black in the jerseys. Maybe you like going even more old school back to the paper line. Just whatever. Give me your favorite Lions jersey uniform combo. Let's hit it with that. Let's talk about David Montgomery. David Montgomery had a conversation where he was talking about the new coaches. All right. And we know that our new offensive coordinator, Johnny Morton, received a ton of credit for helping install the Lions scheme under Johnson in his year in Detroit. And obviously that is true because Dan Campbell went back and hired him. Here's what David Montgomery had to say. All right. He said this, and I thought this was absolutely fantastic. He said, and I'll zoom in here a little bit for you. He said, I haven't met him personally yet, but I hear all good things from him. I know his addition will help, Montgomery told NFL Network. Coach Campbell and Brad do a great job of putting guys around us in our culture so that we can all benefit. He don't make mistakes like that. He's very, very into who he decides to bring in the building. I wish we were playing today, but we're not. Here's the biggest part about that quote that hit me. He doesn't make mistakes. He's talking about Dan Campbell and his ability to hire coaches. I think sometimes we forget that now 4 years in Detroit, Dan Campbell has had to hire a ton of coaches. He's replaced an offensive coordinator. We forget that. And by the way, his first hired offensive coordinator, Anthony Lynn, not good. His second one at offensive coordinator and Ben Johnson, very good hire. He learned from his mistakes. He's let coaches go. Pleasant and the DBs. He replaced him. It worked out really well. Totally fine. We've replaced running backs coaches. We've replaced tight ends. We've replaced defensive line coach. And every time there has been a new coach hired, he has been better. The play on the field has been better than it was before. So yes, I think there is a large level of confidence that the players have, and quite frankly that I have, in Dan Campbell to make the right hire. So yes, when you elevate your defensive coordinator in Shep from within, I have to have confidence in that. When you go outside and hire Johnny Morton, who also spent a year in your organization, I have to have confidence in that. We can talk about whether we like it, whether we don't. But when you're looking at the track record of has Dan Campbell been successful in hiring coaches and more specifically replacing coaches, the answer is he has been remarkably successful. So no, I'm not worried about it. In fact, a lot of the guys that are going were replacements that came in here, and that is a big, big deal. All right, that's good. Now let's get on to other news, and it's about this man right here, Cooper Kupp. Do you want him? Do you want Cooper Kupp? That's my question. And maybe you can't answer that yet, and you need to wait until I tell you how much he's going to make and all that kind of stuff. All right, Ian Rappaport reported just yesterday, as I'm recording this, that the Rams could actually help ease the burden, saying, my understanding is the Rams are at least willing to eat some of the money, potentially paying down the $7.5 million signing bonus, which a lot of that is fully guaranteed for Kupp. Maybe easing the burden on that acquiring team, maybe making a trade a little easier. All right, so it's really simple. Here's what it is. Any team, this is from Schefter, that trades for Kupp will inherit his $20 million salary for the 2025 season and his $19.85 million salary for 2026, unless his contract is renegotiated. Okay, let's talk about that, though. Because when you look at his contract, that is what we would inherit. All right? You have the signing bonus, you have the base, the restructure, all that kind of stuff. If they're willing to pay 7.5 down, there is a world that a team could restructure, get him for like 3 years. You could actually pay him less money, which you would want to because he's often injured, but because he doesn't want to pay on a contract that's almost none of it is left guaranteed, right? He might not want to do that because the remaining team paying that 20 and the 19, that would almost all be non-guaranteed money. That's kind of the big deal in this trade. So here's the question I have for you. Would you be willing to have Kupp on a 2-year contract? And I think that's kind of the window here, people. It's 2 years before you have to pay all of your players. All right? It's 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, but it's not this year, not even so much next year, but the year after that where the salary cap starts getting a little more tricky for the Detroit Lions. And you can absolutely afford to have $20 million on the books each of the next 2 years if you're going to get a wide receiver that's good and effective. I don't want $20 million a year on the books for a wide receiver, if I'm being completely honest, for a wide receiver that is going to be often injured. That's a different game. But here's what I've seen 2 years in a row now. I've seen us just kind of, all right, whatever, whoever's on the outside, it's Josh Reynolds a year ago, and it was Tim Patrick this year. We're just going to make do. And here's what I saw. In the most important game of the season against the San Francisco 49ers, Josh Reynolds dropped 2 passes. In the most important game of the season this year against the Washington Commanders, we started the game with a Tim Patrick drop in the first drive or two. That is what I saw. And what I also see is I think you need to spend a little time investing in a little bit more. I think you just need to invest in a little bit more as your next wide receiver. I understand there's JMO and stuff like that. But if you're looking at that $20 million range, I did want to show you what you could look at the open market. You can't afford T. Higgins. He wants 30, and it's going to be 4 years. Chris Godwin is a little bit older, just like Kupp. He's going to want 3-4 years at about $20 million a year. Amari Cooper is going to want a couple years at $20 million a year. Stephon Diggs, you could go out and get him for a year, right? But it's going to cost you $15-20 million. DeAndre Hopkins is in that $10 to $15 million range. Marquise Brown, oh, I would love that with JMO. Are you kidding me? And then there's a big drop-off. There's a big drop-off. Are you willing to go get Mike Williams? Is that like that? Those are the kind of people that you're looking at. So you have to ask yourself, what would it cost to get him? And would it cost much of anything, or are they just looking to offload his contract? They might just be looking to offload his contract. You might have to go almost nothing. So that's very interesting to me. I definitely wouldn't want to do like a second or a third round pick. I just wouldn't. But you never know. All right, thanks for watching. See you on the next one.